Loud. Welcome. We're going to discuss Torah of the bathroom. Get excited. I think, some people like to use this stuff to say that the rabbis have a sense of humor, and I think they definitely do, but I think there's also more in that. There's humor and there's lightheartedness, and I think that Torah study can be those things. I mean, not always, but I think that it's good to find that humor and that lightheartedness in Torah as well as in other parts of our lives, but also that, right, Torah can really relate to a lot of many things. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it because we'll just look at the text. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to screen share. My favorite. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Here we are. Oh, no, that's a spoiler. Okay, here we are. So we're going to start looking at, so we're in the Talmud, and all of our texts today are going to be in the Talmud. And they're all kind of from they're all from the same Masechet, the same section of Berachot, which is all about lots of things, but blessings and prayers and like when to say what blessing and things like that. And they also take a nice detour into bathroom behavior and beyond. So I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense, because if they're talking about all sorts of stuff in the Talmud, like something that we do every day, multiple times a day, right, hopefully at least, right, is go to the bathroom. So it's not so surprising that they would talk about it. Anyway, so that's our that's my introduction. So right now we're going to start. We're in Berachot 62a. I wanted to include the Hebrew, but most of it, well, this is Hebrew, but then it gets kind of Aramaic-y. But we're just going to look at we're going to function in the English.
Beit HaKisei.
Yes, Beit HaKisei is the bathroom. So, right, it's kind of funny because it's like the house of the chair, but that's the bathroom. It's the house of the chair, aka the toilet. But I guess I bet
would have been an outhouse, I assume.
Yeah, probably an outhouse. I was just gonna say, like, it would be interesting to think about, what's an ancient bathroom? Like, was there a chair? Like, what did the chair look like? Because right, it wasn't a flushing toilet. Because this is from, this part is as old as the Mishnah, so it's like 100 CE. So, right, like I'm not sure. But anyway, that's not necessarily the point of the class, but it's interesting to think about, right? An ancient bathroom, they called it house of the chair, right? It's like, I should say washroom. I'm sorry, it's Canada. I'm such an American. Anyway, washroom.
We say washroom, and I don't know why.
I don't know, but I think bathroom and washroom both, like, don't refer to the main thing that you use it for, which is the toilet, which I think is the same as saying Beit HaKisei, right, house of the chair. It's just, they're all euphemisms because right, it's not like polite. So maybe we should just call it house of the chair.
I like it. I like WC, the British.
The WC, the water closet. Yes. Yeah. So all different types of things. So there we go. So would someone like to read in the English here? I can't see everyone, so if someone's raising their hand, I can't see you. Okay, Noreen. Hello, Cantalumer.
My job is to read.
Yes, you're a good reader in the class.
Okay. It was taught that Rabbi Akiva said, I once entered the bathroom after my teacher, Rabbi Yehoshua, and I learned 3 things from observing his behavior.
Okay, pause. Can we just pause? Like, Rabbi Akiva went into the bathroom, right? He went after his teacher into the bathroom. Very interesting.
But Canadian. He's a Canadian rabbi.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
Okay, I learned that one should not defecate while facing east and west, but rather while facing north and south. But what if your house is made so that the toilets only face east and west? Okay. All right. I learned that one should not uncover himself while standing, but while sitting, in the interest of modesty. And I learned that one should not wipe with his right hand, but with his left. Ben Azai, a student of Rabbi Akiva, said to him, You were impertinent to your teacher to that extent that you observed that much? He replied, it is Torah, and I must learn.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, so we have this like wild story, I think, of a student, right? So Rabbi Akiva is the student in this story, and he goes after his teacher Rabbi Yeshua in the bathroom, and he like watches him to enough that he knows that this is right. He learns from his teacher's behavior. So he sees his sees his teacher making sure that he is facing a certain direction while he is going number 2, and he sees that his teacher, right, is like being careful to be modest, and like being intentional with what hand he uses to wipe. Okay, and so Rabbi Akiva is accounting this story like this is something totally normal. Like, of course, why wouldn't you do this? And his student, so Rabbi Akiva's student Ben Azai, is like, what? You went in and observed your teacher in the bathroom? Like, we don't do that. Like, that's not how we do it. And what's Rabbi Akiva's answer? He replies, it is Torah, and I must learn, right? And I like the Hebrew phrase, right? Torahi, it is Torah. Torahi, v'lilmod ani tzarich, right? I have to learn it. I need to learn it. And so, right, Ben Azai kind of challenges and say, why did you do that? And Rabbi Akiva's answer is like, this is important. I have to learn these things too. It's also Torah. Yeah, I see someone. Okay. Yeah. So like reactions, thoughts. What's your take on this here?
Okay, this is, I don't know. Don't you think it's impertinent? Like, if it was written that long ago, what did they have? Like a urinal thingy? How many people could go in at one time? I don't get this.
You don't get.
No, I think the Akiva student was right, that it was impertinent.
Yeah, right. Like he was being rude. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
What about his response?
There's other ways to learn than watching your teacher go to the bathroom.
Yes. And I always say when I teach this text, I'm like, do not get any ideas. Like, but right. Yeah, right. There are other ways to learn, but then why, right? I guess the question is then, why did Rabbi Akiva think that this was the best way, the most important way to learn, that he, did this? And also kind of why is this story even included in our text, right? It was important enough to say, like, let's keep this in here. And we're going to see there are a few more variations of this in the continuation of this text. This isn't just like a one-time thing. We get another 2 kind of similar vignettes that we're going to see in a moment. Yeah, Stephen.
I mean, I don't know. This really bewilders me. If it bewilders Noreen, it's going to bewilder me too. So, but in Roman times, the washrooms were public places where a number of people would actually be going to the bathroom together. And I guess, could you argue that in a place like that, if somebody is there, it would be like a schwitz, where people get together in different communal kind of situations, that perhaps the master, the rabbi, whatever, would still have little tidbits of Torah to tell them just in a casual sense. And he didn't want to miss any tidbits from his teacher, and I'm just trying to get around this really bizarre story, but perhaps just because it's not like we go in now where we go into a washroom, you're all on your own. In those days, you used to go into a communal thing. So there was a community kind of situation, not pleasant, but people would talk to each other, and you could still learn from people if they had something to say, or, just by being in their milieu. I don't know.
Why couldn't they do the learning before or after? I mean, you don't even put a mezuzah on a bathroom door. Like,
Well, if you're there for 10 minutes or something, I mean, pearls of wisdom can come at any time, I guess. I don't know.
I just wondered what makes it Torah. Just because he says it's Torah? Like, what makes it Torah?
Well, that's part of the issue, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I'd love to hear, like, what do you think, or anyone?
I wouldn't have thought it was Torah.
Yeah, right. It's about going to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
If you read my comment in the chat, Rabbi, you'll see that you have to look at it you have to look at it with another perspective. We're all human, and none of us are perfect, and I still think we have to learn. And even back then, some people didn't know proper behavior.
Yeah, right. So it is important to learn, and I think that there's a degree here of, right, sometimes when we talk about how to do something, it's not as effective as when we see it done.
Right.
And so I'm not necessarily saying about like the bathroom here, but it's kind of like experiential education. I don't know if you've heard that, like that's something we talk about a lot when we think about education and how to teach, is to do it in a way instead of just talking about it, right? To like actually have people do it, right? Instead of just talking about Shabbat, we like have a Shabbat experience together. Instead of talking about, you know, the rain cycle, you go outside and you like watch the rain and you like, you know, whatever. So things like that. So I feel like this is almost like an early experiential education piece of like, okay, I'm not just going to hear about it, but to like experience it in real life and see it. And
But are you going to tell us that the one hand versus the other is Torah?
I mean, so I think that the Torah, when he says it is Torah and I must learn, I think he's saying that there is Torah to how we conduct ourselves even in the bathroom, right? There's it's always Torah how we're conducting ourselves even in the bathroom.
And I'm asking you, is left versus right part of the Torah?
So here, I think that Torah is referring to Torah in its broadest sense, right? Like, so there's lots of different ways to define Torah. There's like the Torah that we, you know, take out and read in the scrolls, or there's Torah as in our Jewish texts.
Learning.
Then Torah in its most expansive, which I think is this Torah, this is what he's using, is to say that there's actually learning around everything. Like there's a Torah to everything we do in life, and there are like better ways to do it or intentional ways to do it. So for me, I don't necessarily think that like the Torah is, oh, I need to make sure now when like I personally go to the bathroom, I'm using a certain hand to wipe. I don't think that's not what I take from this, but what I take from this is that there's Torah in even like going to the bathroom, of like being intentional about how we do it, right? I would say here, like, you know, the whole using your right hand versus your left hand was just that people would use their right hand more and you would eat with your right hand, and they didn't have such great, you know, hand washing facilities. So it was actually a matter of like health. So you'd want to make sure you wiped with the hand that you didn't eat with, because then you could get sick. So I think there's stuff like that. But
then if you're left-handed, you're not Torah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rabbis are definitely not very open to left-handed people, but there are some really interesting conversations about lefties versus righties. But here, at least, yeah, they're.
But what this made me wonder is, what way are the toilets facing in the shul?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see if they're facing the right way. Yeah.
I was just going to comment about left-handed, because even going back maybe 100 years ago, anybody who was left-handed was always looked upon. And even when I remember when I was in grade school, if you were left-handed and you were being taught how, you know, penmanship, for instance, our teachers made us sit on our left hand. So we were forced not even to think about it. Even though we were right-handed, your left hand was not to be used for anything. If you were thinking about it, or you were left-handed. So left-handedness was shunned upon.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole of right hand versus left hand, but I think, right, just to say that they were this is telling us, okay, like, be careful to make a difference between the hand that you wipe with and the hand that you eat with, and, you know, whatever hand it is. But yeah, okay. So we're going to continue on with, this is basically a similar story. So again, remember up here, our characters it was Rabbi Akiva was the one who went and followed his teacher into the bathroom, and Ben Azai is like, what? that's crazy, Rabbi Akiva. And then we have kind of it's a karma thing, not really karma, but okay, so this is just a continuation of the same text. I like to kind of space them out so we don't have spoilers. Okay, so Noreen, do you want to keep reading?
Okay, similarly, we learned in a Baraita, Ben Azai said, I once entered a bathroom after Rabbi Akiva, and I learned 3 things from observing his behavior. I learned that one should not defecate while facing east and west, but rather while facing north and south. I learned that one should not uncover himself while standing, but while sitting. And I learned that one should not wipe with his right hand, but with his left. Rabbi Yehuda said to him, you were impertinent to your teacher to that extent? He replied, it is Torah, and I must learn.
Okay, so basically it's the same exact story, but instead it's like one generation later. So we have Azai now, who learned from his teacher, right? Rabbi Akiva said, this is what I did to my teacher. And so he does it to Rabbi Akiva and basically learns the same things. And again, we have a different rabbi student person who said, what, like, that was so rude. Why did you go, follow your teacher and look at him in the bathroom? And again, Ben Azai here replies, it's Torah and I must learn. Sorry, so lest we think it was just a one-time fluke, like here we get the story again, right after it.
Is it trying to say that, I don't know, but it seems to me a comment about learning from your rabbis or learning from the whole thing is saying something like you have to be observant and learn as much as you can from your rabbis, even down to what normally, even in our society, we don't talk about. We don't talk about these things really to this detail. So I mean, maybe it's more like a metaphor for our need to really learn intensely and not what's it called when you like not when there's something that you automatically refuse to look, what's it called? Not like it's a thing that we normally wouldn't talk about.
Like taboo?
Not
Taboo?
repress, or not, that's not, the word isn't repress, but not like we should be open to learning everything from our rabbi and not screening out things that we think we shouldn't learn, even, I mean, I think it's a metaphor more, I hope it's a metaphor.
But
Yeah.
you could substitute parent and child here, because isn't that how you train a child? You toilet train them, you train them how to eat, you train them how to go to bed, how to brush their teeth. So if you put in a parent and a child instead of a rabbi teacher and a rabbi student, you wouldn't really think twice about it. It would be sort of normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a reason that it's not parent and child here, and yes, it's a good point. But right, it's like it's adults, it's rabbis. Yeah, I think also Devorah, to go back a little to what you were saying, that yeah, I mean, I think in a way it is a metaphor. I really don't believe that the Talmud here is telling us we should follow our teachers into the bathroom. But to say that, yeah, like this is an extreme, right? This seems to be like one of the most extreme examples of things you could do to learn. And if that too is Torah, right? If these rabbis are saying that is Torah and I must learn, then that kind of covers everything else in between, right? If we're saying, okay, you should do this thing for the bathroom, that means that all the more so should you do it for kind of day-to-day relationships, or not necessarily, and I don't even necessarily think it means like, oh, you have to learn from the rabbi, but that there is Torah to all of these interactions, right? Even if there's Torah in the bathroom, then there certainly must be Torah for how we treat other people and how we, speak and spend our lives. So it's kind of, right, when we talk about, I was talking about this with someone the other day, but like when we talk about someone on the margin, so that's why there are a lot of texts about in the Talmud about the poor person, because when we learn, oh, if the person who doesn't have money needs to do this, how much more so does everyone else too? And it kind of includes everyone because it's on the margin. Yeah. And then Michael says, we learn societal norms through modeling. Yeah, it's also interesting that, right, Ben Azai heard the story from his teacher and still he went and felt like he had to learn it too. And so, again, I think that's a little bit about the power of experiential education, of experiencing it for yourself. And I think also we see that Rabbi Akiva, not only did he teach what he learned, but he actually internalized it. So Rabbi Akiva said, oh, I learned these things from my teacher about the bathroom. And then we see that he also does it as well. So he was being a good student. Yes, Brenda.
Even the greatest teachers are always learning, and even the greatest scholars are always learning. That's what makes them so great, and that's what makes them so you're always learning. It doesn't matter. You've often heard even Rabbi Scheim or other rabbis, but Rabbi Scheim in particular, talking about all of the great teachers and scholars that he had the privilege of studying with when he was in the yeshiva, when he was doing his studying, and always commenting or quoting these great teachers, and you're always learning from them. And if you can always learn from the greatest of them, then I think that speaks about Torah in everyday life.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Brenda.
You know, one thing that bothers me about this is there are certain things here that the rabbi could control and teach. He is choosing which hand he's using. He's choosing, you know, how he uncovers himself. But he walks into a bathroom and it is what it is. And it happened to be facing in a certain direction. And then and then the student takes something from it. It's like you could be taking all kinds of strange things and making them into something, but that the rabbi had no control over.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Okay, there is a whole story about at a shul, I forget where it is. There's some shul where for years there's like a Torah procession, and at this one point, everyone always like ducks. Have you heard this story? So everyone always, when the Torah is going around, you know, and the person carrying the Torah always ducks at this certain area, you know, of the shul when they're going around with the Torah. And this just like everyone does it, and they don't know why. It's just because everyone does it. And someone's curious and starts asking questions like, why does everyone always duck down at this certain point in the Torah procession and in this area of the shul? And, you know, they ask people, and finally they ask, you know, the elder at the shul who says, well, actually it's because a long time ago we were doing construction and there was like a scaffolding piece, and so we started ducking, and then that just became the thing. And like people, you know, so that reminded me of what you were saying, Sharon, of that, you know, maybe these things were just happening just because or by accident, and someone took it as more significant than it was.
That's exactly what it makes me think of.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there is some, you know, so maybe some of that's here, but I think there is definitely also some like real intention behind these things. Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, Rabbi, I just, one of the questions, I think with Mindy Galper about using the right hand to cover your eyes for the Shema. Is there a handedness practice? I thought you could use either hand as long as you know, cover your face. I thought it was just the act of covering your face. It didn't matter which hand. Is there a practice of one hand or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure actually, to be honest. I know that the like hand covering comes from Talmud, of one of the rabbis like doing that to help him concentrate.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know. Galpers, do you want to explain where you heard that from?
It's interesting. I found it interesting.
I find that interesting too. Yeah.
I never heard that. I learned something new every time I
Oh,
come.
Mindy.
But it's not true.
I just remember in day school learning to cover your right hand, with your right hand, but I don't know, I could be wrong.
No, it could. I mean, it could be something I'm not familiar with. There's lots of things. We'll have to investigate. But yeah, there is definitely like in Jewish tradition, and I think in a lot of places there is kind of some preference given to the right hand, which I know is messed up for the lefties. I know many lefties and I love them dearly, so. But there are also practices, right? Like for example, tefillin, that it depends on which hand is your dominant hand. So there are some where it's like, oh, you need to do it with your right hand, and there are some practices in Judaism that depends on which hand you use more. So there's kind of a variety of things.
So there are no rules about tefillin either, are there? If you're left-handed, you do it differently than if you were right-handed, correct?
Yes, exactly. So
there you go.
Yeah. But I think lulav and etrog, it's the same for everyone. Like, so it doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed, but you're holding the etrog in the same hand. Everyone's holding the etrog in the same hand. Okay, cool. It's going to be a while for Sukkot. Anyway, so we're going
6 months.
6 months. Sukkot's my favorite holiday. So
it goes fast when you're having fun.
Yes. Okay. So the next is, again, this is all one right after another. I just put spaces in it. So now we have, this one's even more scandalous. We're doing scandalous text today, but we're all adults, so we can handle it. So we have another example of a teacher a student following his teacher into somewhere where you probably shouldn't, but is.
Oh.
And yeah, I'll just read this one. It's okay. Okay. So Rav Kahana entered and lay beneath Rav's bed. He heard Rav chatting and laughing with his wife and seeing to her needs, aka they're having sex. Rav Kahana said to Rav, "The mouth of Abba Rav is like one who has never eaten a cooked dish," meaning that he's being lustful. Rav said to him, "Kahana, you are here? Leave, as this is an undesirable mode of behavior." Rav Kahana said back to him, "This is Torah, and I must learn." It's okay. So, like, literally, Rav Kahana is lying underneath his rabbi's bed, is learning things about the rabbi having sex with his wife, and then Rav. It's just so silly because Rav literally says something out loud. He's like, "Huh, like that's interesting that he's like that," and his teacher hears him, and he's like, "What? You're here? Why are you under my bed?" And he answers back, "This is Torah. This too is Torah, and I must learn." Right. So, right. It's not even the bathroom, but it's other things. And right again, I think it plays into this idea of there's really Torah for everything, and so of course there's going to be Torah for having a relationship and for having a physical relationship. And again, not recommending that you do this, that you sneak into someone's room and watch, but that there is Torah to even that. So. Great. Any thoughts?
Rabbi, I'm interested in that word puk. The Hebrew word to leave or something.
Yeah, it means like go out. Yeah, puk.
Yeah.
Get out of here or something.
Yeah, so there's also, it reminds me, there's a phrase also, puk chaze, which means like go out and see, like go and like learn from the people. So yeah, it's just Aramaic means like get out, go, leave.
Yeah, ask about that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, so we have a few more things to go through, but this is the end of this particular 3-parter text. It's right that I love this phrase of it is Torah and I must learn. And I think that right when I talk about Torah, I really like to talk about Torah in its most general sense of like everything has a Torah to it. There's something we can learn something from everyone. And we can also like be intentional about all our interactions, right? So it's a lot, and we're not always, well, definitely I know I'm not always perfect, and I'm not always intentional about everything, but we can bring intention and we can bring Torah and learning and values to literally everything we do, which I just think is cool. Yeah.
But I think in this case, the Rav whose bed it was didn't think it was Torah. He's, it's like you might say, "I'm here because it's Torah and I must learn," but this Rav doesn't think so. The other Rav. Whereas in the bathroom, you don't see them complaining that, "Why are you looking at me?" They're not saying it to the person who they're watching. They say to somebody else, but here they say it and it's like, no, leave. This is undesirable. So you can say, Kahana, you can say it's Torah, but I'm saying it's undesirable. Get out from under my bed.
Yeah, it's a good like slight change in this, right? This one versus the other two is the person questioning it is an outside person who's like, what, you did that to your teacher? And here it's his teacher saying, hey, you shouldn't.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely that like rebuke of like, this is probably not something we should do, but also the point is being made that it's Torah, right? I think there's both there of like.
But the person who's saying it's Torah is the one who's saying, is not the other person who presumably maybe is the teacher, I don't know, doesn't seem to think it is. So just saying it is doesn't make it so.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it could be Rav is upset that he's there, or it could be that Rav doesn't believe this is something he needs to learn. And I would say that, like, I think that there is Torah here, but maybe, right, he's saying this is not the right way to learn it. Like, at least
exactly.
Maybe if you want to follow your teacher into the bathroom, like, that's a little gray area, but like, you should definitely not go under your teacher's bed. That's
right. You should not hide in your teacher's bedroom to learn Torah.
No.
Yes.
But there is Torah, right? There is a Torah of the bedroom, but
yes.
Don't learn it by sneaking in. That's not good. Great. So cool. So it's just, I just like that. I know it's like a little out there, but I just enjoy this idea of it's Torah and I must learn. And I think there's lots of things that are Torah and that we must learn. And okay. So this next piece is these two next texts are connected. So this is again from Berachot. It's from a little bit earlier. And we have Rabbi Yehuda, who actually made an appearance up here. Where'd he go? Right, Rabbi Yehuda's up here. So we get him again. And yeah, so again, is on our bathroom theme, because it too is Torah. Would someone like to read? Noreen, do you want to keep it going? Doing a great job. Okay.
And Rav Yehuda said, there are three matters which, when one who prolongs their duration, they extend a person's days and years. They are one who prolongs his prayer, one who prolongs his meal time at the table, and one who prolongs his time in the bathroom.
Okay. This is an interesting, so we have Rabbi Yehuda saying, okay, there are three things. If you really take your time on these, it will help you live longer. So what's his secret to a long life? You have to prolong your prayer. You have to prolong your mealtime, right? Eat slowly. And you have to like take your time in the bathroom.
How does that work? If you're a Rav and you've got 10 kids in one bathroom, this is not a good thing.
Yeah, I always think about this, right? These probably not talking about like what some people do now that maybe I sometimes do that I shouldn't do, but I do, is like when we go to the bathroom and like you take out your phone and then you get distracted and then it's like a while later. Don't do that. But I do it. Anyway, so not talking about that. But yeah, like what does it mean to prolong your time in the bathroom?
You're certainly not reading anything you're not supposed to. Like, you're not supposed to read Torah in the bathroom.
No, yeah, don't study the Torah in the bathroom.
Don't study the Torah in the bathroom.
There is Torah about going to the bathroom, but don't study in the bathroom.
Right.
Different. Yeah.
It might be if you have 10 children, it's the one place you get some privacy.
Yeah. Maybe this is like taking a moment of solitude. And right, there are people, I know I've been reading articles and I have friends who do this, who like live in New York City and the bathroom is the only door that closes in their apartment. And so all of a sudden the bathroom has become, this place of privacy, of quiet, of solitude. And so maybe Rabbi Yehuda is saying, like take some time to breathe a little bit. Yeah. Other thoughts? I saw someone I think chatted. Right. So one of the Galfers is mindfulness, right? Yeah, this is maybe this earlier. yeah, like the rabbis knew that you need to take some time to just be present. And then someone else said, the prayer equals meditation, eating slow, and good bodily function. That say that these three things are still good. Yeah, so maybe there's this idea of having, yeah, just that your body is able to function. And so, right, that's the physical piece. And there's kind of a physical piece and a mental piece and a nutrition piece here. Yeah, nice.
Well, isn't it true that when we say the morning blessings, we are saying we're thankful that we can do all the things that our body allows us to do?
Yeah, exactly. In the morning, and also sometimes after we go to the bathroom, there's a prayer.
There is a prayer.
There's the Asher Yatzar prayer for after you go to the bathroom that just says, like, thanks for having all of my body working, and the things that should be closed are closed, and things that should be open are open, because if something is open that should be closed, or something closed that should be open, it's like a disaster. And to really recognizing, you know, the miracle of actually being able to use the bathroom. And we know when we're not able to, like, how painful that is, and for various reasons. So I think there's definitely a piece of that here. So we have this idea of maybe it's prolonging time in the bathroom is about alone time or about mindfulness. Maybe it's about just bodily function. You know, I've heard one interpretation that it's like not trying to like strain too much, right? Like letting things come out when they need to come out and not trying to rush through it. Any other thoughts around this piece? Cool. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, what is this day today?
It's great. I think it's really great. It is kind of interesting that something prayer is sort of whatever that is. Prayer is like something you learn and you think is supposed to be the most exalted form of activity, and then eating, and then going all the way down to bathroom, which is like probably something is so private, like it's interesting that they're put all in the same sentence, like something that's very holy, and then whatever. Are we lost?
Hello? I think we lost the rabbi.
Hello?
Oh,
Yes.
maybe we should take a bathroom break. I don't know.
We came back.
Hopefully it's not a long. Hopefully she's not doing a long one.
No. But it took us back to the shared screen. Okay. We should talk amongst ourselves.
I think that's the idea. We have to now digest this. And
Yeah.
it's a group project.
There she is.
Hello, I'm sorry about that. The internet just went out in my house, so I'm using my cell phone to make my computer have internet.
But there's Torah in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is. Yeah, what did you all talk about while I was gone?
We were worried that you took one of those 3 breaks, but we didn't know. And that you were going to do a long break to make do it a long one too.
It's interesting. It's like sometimes I feel just so at the mercy of technology in certain ways. But yeah, apparently the phone service just went out. So I'm grateful that I can use my data and connect to my phone, to my computer, like what the future is here. Okay, so we are back.
So Rabbi, I don't know how to do that, and I should learn how to do that. That sounds like Torah.
Ooh, yeah. So not every phone has this capability, but it's called a personal hotspot. And you can make your phone, it uses a lot of data. So there was definitely one time where I was using it too much and then I ran out of data on my phone, which was annoying, but I'm just using it for the next 20 minutes. So it should be fine. But yeah, you can connect to your computer from your phone and then go on the internet like this.
I've heard of
So-
it. My older grandson tried to talk me to tell me, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's an advanced thing, but I know you're all on Zoom, so you can all do it. Okay, so I'm gonna reshare my screen. Here we go, and then I'm just gonna hide myself. Okay, great. So okay, so we had our one who prolongs prayer, one who prolongs mealtime table, one prolongs time at the bathroom, and there's like a bunch of, after this particular piece of Berachot 54b, there's a whole conversation about, okay, like what does it mean to prolong your prayer and why is that good? And some people are like, is that good? Is that not good? Or, you know, one who prolongs mealtime, again, they're like, why? I know there's one interesting take. One of the rabbis in the Talmud says that it's actually because if you sit down at the table for a really long time, there's more likelihood that like someone who's going to come by who's really hungry, who needs to be fed, is going to come, and then you're going to have this opportunity to do a mitzvah because you get to feed them because you're still at your table. And then one prolongs his time in the bathroom. There's some interesting and confusing things about that. Sorry, there's a little noise. I'm in a house full of people. So here's a very confusing story that I'm not sure what to make of it, about this idea of prolonging one's time in the bathroom. Okay, so I'm going to really read it again. So this is Berachot 55a. It says, the Gemara, right, the Talmud relates the benefits of prolonging one's time in the bathroom. Okay, and so then we get this very confusing story. So like that incident when a matron, which is a woman, usually like a Roman, like not a Jew, said to Rabbi Yehuda, son of Rabbi Eli, she says, your face is fat and full, like the faces of pig farmers and usurers who do not work hard and who make a plentiful living. So, okay, so she's giving him this like weird compliment, right? She's saying like, you look great. You look like you don't have to work hard. Like you're a man of leisure. Wow. And he said to her back, honestly, those two occupations are prohibited to me, right? He says like, well, I'm not a pig farmer and I'm not a usurer. Like I'm not like, taking interest in whatever. But rather, why is it that my face is nice? Because there are 24 bathrooms between my lodging and the study hall. And when I walk, I stop and examine myself in all of them. And so he's saying, well, my face looks good because I check myself out in all 24 bathrooms as I go between where I stay and school, the study hall. What do you think he's saying here? What's happening?
What happened?
I feel like she's insulting him, but that's like a today thing, because maybe back then, if they said your face was fat and full, that was a great thing to say, right? But I feel like she's insulting him, and he's deliberately saying, I look so good because I'm vain and look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty vain, but yes, he's checking himself out so he can make sure his face looks the way he wants, but it sounds sort of vain.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's putting it back at her. He's ignoring the insult and saying, yeah, pretty good. Yeah, because I do this, but he's not accepting her insult as an insult.
Rabbi, one of the themes in all of this has been intentionality, and that the behavior that everyone is doing that are being described is this notion of behaving with intentionality, whether it's in the bathroom or at the dinner table or in prayer. I mean, you approach kavanah through intentionality, through maintaining an ongoing sense of presence. So I'm wondering whether that's part of the story here.
Yeah, I think definitely there's this level of intentionality that he's not just going from where he sleeps to where he studies, but he's like taking this time to kind of get in touch with himself, and maybe this is a vain way to get in touch with himself, and maybe it's not, right? But he's taking that time before he goes to study hall. Really. Thanks, Alan.
And maybe she's probably not recognizing the fact that he is a religious Jew, And to say that that his face looks like a pig farmer is really insulting to him.
Well, that's our interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that like she's actually giving him a compliment. I think it's a compliment, even though, right, if I was to say to someone, your face is fat and full, that's not now today, like that's not necessarily a compliment. But right back then, like when people really had to work, and there was a lot of food scarcity for everyone, that, you know, to have a face that wasn't really skinny and gaunt meant that, you know, you were getting enough food, you were a certain level of wealth. And so I think she was really giving him a compliment here. And he's saying, yes, my face looks great because I go to 24 bathrooms and check myself out in all of them. Yeah, Stephen.
I would disagree. I think it was commented earlier. I think that he's giving a sarcastic reply to a sarcastic comment. I mean, she would probably know if she knew he was Jewish and talked about pig farmers and usurers. That's two stereotypic things. You think of the Merchant of Venice and other situations where, you know, Jews are related to money and that. And she's saying, you know, we work hard generally, you know, and all that. We have to work for our money. You don't have to work so hard. So, you know, you can just study, do your thing, and you still look healthy and, you know, and full. And he just says, yeah, I look that way because, yeah, I check myself every stop on the way, you know, which he probably would not do, but he's just giving her a sarcastic reply.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an argument to be made that this is sarcastic.
I like Stephen's interpretation because I see it as she just happened to choose a pig farmer and a usurer. Like, really? Yeah. I just think it's like, I'm not going to take this as the anti-Semitic thing it is. And I'm going to put it back to you as, yeah, because I'm pretty fine. I look in the mirror. That's why I look so good. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, so I was looking at some of the commentaries for this because I was really puzzled because, at least in the way I was interpreting it, and I think, you know, Stephen, you're onto something here as well, and I think Sharon, you mentioned earlier, and someone else as well, but that, like, I was taking it as he was being genuine. And so I was like, okay, especially because of just this line of like how they connected, how this introductory line of like, okay, there's this benefit of prolonging one's time in the bathroom, and this is kind of related to that. So, okay, if this is a benefit and he's being genuine, what is it like? Why is this text saying that it's a good thing to stop in the bathroom, like each bathroom, like all 24 of them? Like, what is going on here? Because I don't think it's telling us to like look in the mirror all the time. And one, I think it was actually Steinsaltz who said that he's examining myself as doing like pikuach nefesh, which is like not pikuach nefesh, oh my gosh, cheshbon hanefesh, right? Like, which is a term that kind of will come up around the high holidays as we get closer, but this idea of like checking in on ourselves. So not that he's looking in the mirror and like checking out his hair and his face and being like, wow, you know, I look great, but rather that he is kind of taking a look at himself, but it's more of kind of an inside look of like, oh, you know, what kind of person am I? Who do I want to be today? And you know, this connects to what Alan said earlier of like bringing that intentionality into it, of saying, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be? And that, you know, personal check-in actually shows up physically in a way. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Other thoughts on this? I'm gonna stop the share.
I wonder as well whether the this whole notion of when he says honestly, that there's a certain naivety. It's that he's rather caught up with himself, and it's almost as if the question surprises him. I'm inclined to think along the same lines as you are, Rabbi, in the, you know, taking the commentary as face value rather than putting the interpretive twist on it. I think the message in writing in Berachot here is for us to focus on the overall message rather than the question of whether this is intended, as an insult or not.
I'm also thinking that who says there's a mirror in the bathrooms in those days?
It's true. Yeah, I have no idea.
So we're kind of taking a today look at it, but if there's no mirror, then he's not doing anything vain.
Yeah, right. And then what does it mean for him to check himself out, right? Like examine. And he says that the Aramaic is like badekna nafshai. So badekna, like badek, like to check, like he checks himself. So that might not necessarily, I'm not sure if there were mirrors, so it might not necessarily mean he checks out himself like by looking in a mirror, but maybe he like looks at his body, or maybe he, or maybe looks internally, right, to do an internal like check yourself. That's a good point. We'll have to do some Googling about ancient bathrooms after. You don't have to. Yeah. Any other thoughts about the whole thing? So I mean, I guess like why I brought all of this to you today is one, I think it's fun to kind of learn things that we don't usually talk about, and just do something a little bit different, and it's a little bit more lighthearted, but also to say that like there is Torah for every part of our lives, and that's not meant to be like restrictive. I don't mean to say like there are rules you have to follow for everything, but there's just an intentionality that we can bring to every aspect of our lives, and a presence that we can bring to every aspect of our lives, even the bathroom, and recognizing the miracles that happen in there. And again, I just love the line of this too is Torah and I must learn, and think about that a lot of like what is the Torah I must learn? What is the Torah that we all want to learn, and how do we make sure that we learn it, right? Like these rabbis knew that they needed to learn this type of Torah, and so they followed their teachers into the bathroom and stuff like that. And so like how can we pursue in appropriate ways, but how can we pursue that Torah and the learning that we know that we need, and how can we do that in our own lives, and also just to really take an expansive approach to what Torah is and what Torah can look like. And not only can we learn Torah in all places, but we can learn Torah from all different people as well. So kind of both of those ways. So just, I feel like it's a good line to have. This too is Torah and I must learn. If you're asking a rabbi a question and they're getting annoyed at you, you should just say that. And that's it for me. But so thank you all again for joining and for humoring me, and I hope that you learned something today. I don't know, any last thoughts, words, things? Stephen.
I just want to know how you're doing and your family. Back south, back home. Everybody okay?
Yes, we are all okay. We're doing well. Nothing to report. I gave a few haircuts on Lag BaOmer. Things are boring here, which I guess is good. But thank you for asking.
As long as you're doing well, and you can always learn something. I think what this lesson taught us, no matter even as mundane as daily things we do during our life, this is something that we can always learn. And I think this particular strange time that we're in is giving us that opportunity to learn things that are important, that we may have taken for granted before.
Yeah, definitely right. This idea of like kind of this slowing down and that opportunity to look and to learn. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Any other closing thoughts? Cool. Well, oh, Noreen, did you, or were you just waving?
Right.
What? Oh, did we freeze again? Did I freeze?
First one.
Okay. I think my internet is not being so great anymore. So I'm just gonna sign off and say thank you all again for coming, and this was great. And
thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, see you next Monday.
Thank you, Rabbi. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Good lead-in from the service that made me think I should come to this.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'm glad you came.
They help